Calls growing louder tonight for a police boycott of Beyonce's world tour. That comes in the wake of her controversial new music video Formation and her Super Bowl performance. So joining me now is retired New York Police Detective Harry Houck, CNN contributor Bakari Sellers, Entertainment Tonight host Nichelle Turner, and Kierna Mayo, editor-in-chief of Ebony Magazine. It's good to have all of you here, so let's go. Kierna, you first. Some police groups are calling for a boycott of Beyonce's upcoming tour. The boycott includes asking officers to refuse to work off-duty security details for these events. Are you surprised at how deep this opposition to her performance is running?
I am surprised. At first, I kind of, even on the show, I thought, yeah, what the heck? This is so silly. Why are we having this conversation? Because essentially, I feel that Beyonce, like so many African Americans, would absolutely never advocate violence against police. She's having a moment right now where she is connecting her art to a vibration that African Americans are on. We are standing together. Young people are saying that it is not okay for police to be violent. Remember that the advent of the Black Panthers happens only because of the police. That's the irony here. You get the Black Panthers in direct proportion to police violence. It was the Black Panther Party for self-defense.
Okay, so let's hear Harry. Some say her performance is anti-police with this references to the Black Panthers and Black Lives Matter, that movement. Do you feel that way? Because Kierna just addressed that. Do you feel that it was anti-police?
Well, anti-police, it's also racist. Her support of the Black Liberation Army, who, by the way, has assassinated over 15 police officers through the years. The fact that the head of the BLA, former head, Malik Shabazz, called for the killing of whites and their families. So, dressing up her dancers like the BLA definitely tells me that that was a racist statement and shows me support for an organization that has murdered and assassinated police officers for years.
Bakari?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just so encouraged that so many Black people watch, and all Americans watch that PBS documentary, because there's a misinformation campaign that has long existed in relationship to the Black Panthers. And it's high time that we talk about the truth and that we really begin to analyze the correct history. There's not one narrative about the Black Panthers. The police don't get to tell what the Black Panthers are. We get to define what they were for us.
Go ahead, Bakari.
What about the dead police officers? What about all the dead police officers that were assassinated?
I have to laugh at Harry Houck.
Come on.
I have to laugh at Harry Houck for actually saying that this was racist. Harry's a friend, so I have to laugh at him for actually saying this is racist, because it's not. And I wish Harry and others were as vocal as when we have young African-American men who die at the hands of police officers for committing crimes that they should not be sentenced to death for. With that being said, I think that Beyonce, like myself, like Nichelle, like Kierna, even like you, Harry, we all agree that police officers go out every day and they serve and protect, and they do so with such honor. However, there is a very, very specific pain that is felt by African Americans that Beyonce and Kendrick Lamar are speaking to right now.
Let's add another layer on top of this.
Well, why are the very few instances that occur, the very few instances that occur where police officers are involved in some kind of misconduct or maybe even murder? Those police officers are sent to court and they're arrested and they are convicted. All right. Why?
No, they're not.
Why are those few instances?
They're not
part of the. Yes,
they're not,
are.
though.
Well, then you tell me
they're
which.
Not.
You tell me which cases. You tell me which cases, Bakari.
No, I mean we can go down the line. We can go down the line here.
One at a time, please. One at a time.
That what happened in Ferguson was murder. I'm sorry, it was not. Okay, what happened in Staten Island was murder. I'm sorry, but it was not. Okay, what happened in North Charleston?
We can go back.
Yes, I'll agree. That that was murder.
We can go back to February 8th, 1968, Harry, where you had 8 officers fire shots into a group of students known as the Orangeburg Massacre at South Carolina State. We can actually talk about that, Harry. We can talk about the fact that we have people, whether or not it's Walter Scott or Zachary Hammond, we have all of these people that go without finding justice. This whole thing is about justice.
Why don't you talk about the real issues, though?
What real issues?
Why don't you talk about the real issues?
You want to talk about black on black crime?
Exactly. That's the real issue. The chance is
You
70
There are
times
regard
more
for black
of a chance
life,
of you
sir.
being killed
It's
by another black man
clear.
than a police
Harry, here's
officer.
the thing. I don't think anyone here will say that there is not an issue with people killing each other of all races, but there are two separate. You can walk into a gun at the same time. You can talk
Apparently
about
it's not an
people.
issue.
You can
Why
have.
are we
You can talk.
discussing
People
that?
can talk about people being shot or abused by police officers, and you can also talk about, on the other hand, people who are killing each other on the streets. But I want to get Nichelle in here. Law enforcement feels that Beyonce, Nichelle, is promoting division between law enforcement and African American communities. I talked with the former mayor of New York City, Rudy Giuliani. He's been brought up a lot in here about this a little over a week ago, and here's what he told me.
Maybe it might not be a bad idea for people who have the kind of fame and celebrity that she has to teach everyone, not only in her community, but in every other community, to respect the police, to respect the uniform, not to make it appear as if they're the enemy, but to respect the uniform of our police officers, of our military. That's the way I was brought up. That's a lot safer way to bring up your child, by the way.
Nichelle, this is what you do every day. You speak to artists in the entertainment industry and beyond. So what exactly is the responsibility of an artist like Beyonce in the community? And what are people, at least in the industry, you would know, saying about a responsibility of someone like a Beyonce?
Right. Well, first of all, to Mr. Giuliani, it's the way I was brought up as well, and I'm quite sure that it's the way that Tina Knowles and Matthew Knowles also brought up Beyonce to respect the police, and I'm quite sure that she does. You know, what I think is really interesting here is, when did the conversation go from, you know, Beyonce making a statement in her art to she hates the police? I mean, I really don't even see the correlation there, and I think that it's very interesting when these people who, the majority of them, and I'm speaking about the police. Well, Harry, can you let me finish, please? I mean, I didn't interrupt you. I sat and listened to everything that you were saying. I'd appreciate the same to me. But what I was saying was that I think it's very interesting that these people that I consider everyday heroes, the majority of them, and I'm speaking about the police, now are saying, because we're mad at you, we are not going to, or we potentially don't want to do for you what we signed up to do, and that's serve and protect. I don't know. This is America, and we're allowed to have a voice. We're allowed to have freedom of speech. And if you don't want to serve and protect someone that you may not agree with, I'm not sure why you sign up to be a police officer.
Okay.
That's just my view on that.
Don,
Now,
we have to clear this up. Don, we have to clear up. The one issue here is not the fact that police officers don't want to protect her. These are, we're talking about side jobs. These are side jobs that the police officers get paid extra. They get paid extra to go out, and this is volunteer work, to wear the uniform and protect somebody like Beyonce, protect the venue. This is not working while you're a member of the police department. You're just wearing the uniform. This is a side job. These are the jobs that the police officers are talking about that they want to boycott.
But they're also protecting the people who go to the show as regular citizens as well.
This is a side job. They do not have to do this. All right? But if police officers are assigned through the police department to go and work at a concert, those officers have to do that.
Okay, as I was saying earlier, an added layer on top of this, one group, one very controversial voice, is saying, police don't want to protect Beyonce, I'm going to do it. Minister Louis Farrakhan, you'll hear from him next.
Oh, wow.
Why do we vacation?
I'm back with Harry Houck, Bakari Sellers, Nichelle Turner, and Kierna Mayo. Okay, so Minister Louis Farrakhan gave a speech today for the Nation of Islam, the Savior's Day. He praised Beyonce for taking a stance. Let's listen.
Sweet sister Beyonce, boy. Now, you know, people are terrified. Beyonce? Giuliani said, on the greatest platform in the world, the Super Bowl. She started talking that black stuff. And white folks said, we don't know how to deal with that. But when one of us shows some independence, look at how you treating Beyonce now. You gonna pick it? You're not gonna offer her police protection? But the FOI will.
I'm going to let you handle that, Bakari.
Oh, you come to me first. You know, my answer to this is I'm still not sure how we got to this point.
Exactly.
I'm still not sure why.
I don't know either.
I am at a loss on how we got from 0 to 100, in the words of the great American poet Drake, so quickly. You know, I find myself here standing very, very proudly with Beyonce, very proudly with Kendrick Lamar, not just because they're millennials and a part of my generation, but again, they are articulating so much pain that's going on in our communities. And I really wish Harry, who is in Charleston, South Carolina right now, who is less than, 10 miles away from Walter Scott was killed, less than 10 miles away from Clemente Pinckney and 8 others were gunned down, would just take a moment and take a deep breath so maybe he too can understand the pain that I feel. No, so you can understand the pain that I feel, and then we could have a more productive discussion.
So, Harry, listening to that,
what about the pain? What about the pain that I feel with the 15 police officers that were murdered by the BLA?
When you hear Minister Farrakhan saying, "Hey, if the police won't do it, I'll do it. We'll do it."
Listen, first of all, I don't listen to what Farrakhan says. The man is a racist, he called for the death of whites. He called for the death of Jews. I mean, I wouldn't give this guy 30 seconds of my time in my life.
Revisionist history of the Black Panthers, I have to keep coming back to that. It's not okay to simply discount the counterintelligence program. Don, I really encourage...
Explain it then. Go ahead, talk about it.
I just encourage your viewers to watch the PBS documentary, to Google COINTELPRO or counterintelligence program, to read Asada, to learn about the Black Panthers for themselves. When you fact find about this organization, it's not as simple as a single narrative. It's not just about a bunch of crazed cop killers. That is a lie. And it's important that we say this because it is...
What's a lie? That they didn't kill cops?
Did the cops kill Mark Clark and Fred Hampton? Did they assassinate?
I'm telling you, they assassinated police officers. The FBI was watching them because they were a group of criminals.
You don't get to kill unarmed people. You don't get to kill people who are asleep because
police officers can kill unarmed people in certain instances.
The United States government has been very clear about the fact that the counterintelligence program violated civil rights. You have to do the research. I bet you, Harry, yourself, are uninformed about the truth of the Black Panthers. Again, this narrative that we keep painting.
I've seen it. I lived through the Black Panthers. I went after Joanne Chesimard.
Unfortunately.
So, Nichelle, the fact that we're having such an intense conversation right now. And people are saying, I don't understand how we got here from 0 to 100 in the words of the great poet Drake, as Bakari says. But listen, as someone who's in the media, you and I are trained in the media and we do it every day. I understand how we got here. There's a division on one side. It's, it's no different. I've been watching The People versus O.J. Simpson on FX. Amazing.
It is
the divisions about race in this country are so deep. So you have one side who are really upset and feel that police officers, aren't getting their fair share. And then you have people of color who have a different reality than police. It may not just be, white, but then police officers. And so I think that's why it went from, and then when you have someone as controversial as Minister Louis Farrakhan, coming aboard now, then things get much worse. Talk to the racial division. And this is what's going on in culture.
Don,
I understand how we got here. I want Nichelle to respond. Go ahead.
No, I think you're right. I think that's when it becomes combustible, when you get these polarizing figures on every side of the situation all coming together and spouting whatever rhetoric or feelings they have, then that's when it becomes combustible. I still go back to the point of we live in America, the greatest country in the world, and we have these rights to express ourselves. Beyonce is an artist. I think that the song is a brilliant song. I mean, she calls it a song of empowerment and of self-love. She certainly has never called it a song, an anti-police song. She's never called the video one of anti-police. There is a scene in this where you have a young boy who is crunking in front of a police line, and you see the signs the word stop shooting us. I'm not even sure where the word stop shooting us turns into I hate police. I think it's a statement. And I think, Harry, you can agree that there is a lot of pain, probably on both sides. And I think these type of conversations, because you're right, this is very intense. The air is thick right now. These conversations sometimes need to be had really at the root and being raw in order to take a step forward. And I think everybody has to understand that there is giving, there's giving to do on every side of this, Harry, and hopefully one day you'll understand.
We'll talk about this more, and
I hope you'll understand that also.
Thank you very much. Everyone stay. Thank you, everybody. Nichelle and Kieran, I want you to stay with me because up next we're going to talk about Hollywood's big night, almost here, but will it be overshadowed by a big controversy?
The future belongs